Hello again. Happy Sunday. Happy Sabbath. The day of rest. I hope everyone is enjoying theirs. I do have to work later, but for now, right. So again, right, this channel is about processing my relationship with Quentin Tarantino. We have a legendary psychic connection. He's a powerful psychic clairvoyant, right? He's been trying to compel me to madness for a year now. Now that he knows he will not succeed, he has descended into very dangerous, disgusting, base black magic tactics to destroy my body, which he will always deny. Right? And so, I'm talking about it. I've written a novel about it, 130,000 words. And again, I can't stress this enough, the 130,000 words is not a final amount either. It'll be much longer by the time it's done. But I cannot stress this enough. Right? Tribeca is my fault. It's not Quentin's fault. Right? It's my fault. Right? And like I mentioned in my letter, I'd like to hope that behind closed doors, perhaps he tells people I would have given him more if I knew he needed more, you know. But I don't know. I don't know what I wasn't thinking. I was more interested in being a coward, right? And so his hatred of me, right? I earned that. But now, right? It has evolved into something, right, that compels our reconciliation or will compel one or both of us to the grave. This is the condition, right? And he can deny, he can say I'm schizophrenic, right? All these things, right? And so, right, no matter what he says, right? The truth is that he is a powerful psychic clairvoyant. And the truth is also that he never really understood what he was playing at. But now we do. Now we understand each other perfectly fine. So this channel is dedicated to bringing it out into the light of day, right? To remind people, right, that wisdom is a responsibility, right? That there are forces, people in this world who can manipulate, right, reality, right, by their mind. Life is a mental, psychic pressure, right, upon the hologram, right? Embedded in every cubic centimeter of space is a perfectly nested hologram absolute, right? The conscious field exerts pressure, a divine wind, a celestial zephyr, right? Mutates the hologram, right? Which in turn, right, ejaculates out a phantom, right? A physical simulation of a nobler spiritual truth, right? And so he pushes his thoughts out, right, with his intention, his will, just like the divine abstract God the Father exerts his knowing, right, by thinking onto the static eternal perfection of the hologram, which is embedded everywhere, always. This is the world. This is how the world works, right? And so a psychic clairvoyant uses their understanding of the psychic origins of life, right, to compel themselves either into other locations through remote viewing or compel other people into physiological, neurological responses, right? Compel them to take action, right? Compel them to murder people, right? Right? Reductionist materialistic science has terms for this, right? Dissociative personality disorder, multiple personality disorder, schizophrenia, etc., etc., etc. All of those things must be true on some level, right? Of course. That psychology is too textured, it's too rich. There are thousands of instances of people who conjure up relationships that do not occur at all. Yes, I acknowledge that. Right? And so this is his argument with me, right? But what I'm saying, right, is that he's lying, right? He's lying. And all that has to be done, right? You don't have to believe me. All that has to be done is he needs to release the footage from the screening of Jackie Brown last year, right? It's time to bring it out into the forefront, right? I'm a coward. I'm a loser, right? You made a misstep, Quentin, right? It's time to own it. It's time to own it, right? This disgusting siege that you beset upon me is compelling me, right, to think of dangerous things, right? Right? And so for all that you torture me, right, I can give it back tenfold. Right? So rather than do that, and I'm feeling that I have no choice. I'm feeling that like he's pushed me into such a hole, right? That I have to, right? I have to at least build something and let him see it and say, okay, this is right now. Now I'm gonna use this. If you keep fucking with me, I'm gonna use this and destroy you in days. Yes. No needles, right? No diseases, right? No base tactics that you stole from me, because you've never known the game that you're playing, did you? Have you? Right? That it's always been some sick pastime. You thought you had some sort of upper hand on somebody. Hate to break it to you. Right? So we're reading through the novel. We're talking about the novel, what I liked, what I didn't like, right? In relation to Quentin, right? His tactics, my tactics, right? And so I'll pick up where I left off yesterday. I awoke before sunrise, had 1 cup of coffee, and set out hiking into the park that touches the backyard. Very steep, but after maybe 1 hour of arbitrary climbing, I arrived at a legit entrance, and continued for another 2 hours before resting on a lush bed of pine needles against a fell tree just off the trail. The morning rays of light stabbing the gaps in the tree line. I sat for 15 minutes, smoked a cig, relaxed as best as I was able, and headed back the way I came. On the downhill descent into my sister's yard, I cut my leg on a strong, thorny bush. Coagulated tendrils full of pith and ire. My left calf. I ran in and cleaned it and sterilized every surface, but I didn't get any blood on anything. I sat down in front of the living room. After 5 minutes, I looked down and had 2 kittens crawling up my leg, and looked out. And looking out, I saw 5 more. The front door was open with the glass door shut, and the mother came to the door holding a dead mouse by its throat. I shook the cats off my pants and laid back down. 2 days later, I got my package. Before leaving, I saw my niece, nice girl, 16, no direction. Hey, I got something for you. She smiles and perks up. Yeah? Cool. Wait here, I'll be right back. I walk down to the truck and bring her the artist's easel I bought in Montrose. I show her how to set it up. Here, you can use this. It's too much space. I have to get rid of it, but you take it. You sure? Yeah, you take it. You use it. She gives me a hug. Thanks, Uncle. You're welcome, niece. Now I hug my sister. Take care, brother. Yeah, good to see you. Love you. See you soon. Love you. Be safe. I walk to the curb where my truck is parked just behind the driveway. Blow. Wait. Turn the key. And head back out the way I came. I drove until I was on fumes. All the way past West Memphis, and filled up at a Love's truck stop in Palestine, Arkansas. I didn't see any Middle Eastern people. One has to wonder how these towns end up with these names. Inside with my soda and candy, an overweight trucker with a lazy right eye, fat cheeks, dark hair, a dark goatee, chicken legs and baseball shorts and jail flip-flops with a towel draped over his shoulder, and a tacky headset like he's taking drive-thru orders, bitches in line ahead of me. I've been waiting here over an hour. What's the holdup? His accent strips paint off of rough surfaces better than any sandblaster. Patience is a virtue. Here's a pen, shower number 5. He snatches the paper aggressively from the woman and shuffles towards the back where the showers are. I toss my snacks on the counter. 40 on 4, Camel Blues. She scans everything. 49.49. I nod in contemplation as I produce my card and shove the chip end into the reader. Twice 7 squared. The year of the Jubilee. Huh? I wave my hand in dismissal as the charge is accepted. I don't need the receipt, thanks. The time is around 2:30 in the afternoon. The sun is high. The temperature is fair. The summer shadow looms. The solar dominion approaching maximum. Tank, full, sobriety, proven, truck, running, man, also running. Heading west on Interstate 40 leads me to the opposite side of Little Rock, where on the way there I went from the southwestern corner to exit the city northeast. Now I entered the city east to northeast and exit through the northwest, turning sharply north just beyond the city limits, where the interstate merges with State Highway 385, running through Mayflower, Gold Creek, Menifee, Blackwell, Atkins, Pottsville, Russellville, Mill Creek, London, Knoxville, which run alongside Lake Dardanelle, Wydecker Village, a nation of immigrants. The same stretch of highway we have towns named after countries in the Middle East, as well as Dutch, German, something or other. Mulberry, Dyer, Alma, dividing Arkansas from Oklahoma. I stop at a Sonago in Van Buren, on the north end of Fort Smith, just east of the state line. Heading west on 40 into Oklahoma sees the plains consume the landscape. No more forest. Wide expanses that seem to swallow everything in their path into grains of sand. Though the purple dogwoods running along the road on both sides are in bloom and offer a majestic view to the critical eye. Once inside Oklahoma, I drive through Muskogee, Sallisaw, Vienne, Warner, Checkaw, leading into the Muskogee Creek Nation Reservation, Henrietta, Okemah, which leads into suburban sprawl of Oklahoma City, the eastern half. Interstate 40 leads me through the northern portion of the city, leading to Yukon, El Reno, Bridgeport, Hydro, Weatherford, where I take the East Main Street exit and fill up at a Phillips 66. Clinton, Foss, Canute, Elk City, Sayre, Hext, Eric, Texola, Shamrock, McLean, Allen Reed, Groom, Yarnall, and I pull off onto the frontage road highway 287 to get gas at an Exxon in Amarillo. Heading west towards Albuquerque, the desert vistas swallow the landscape once more. Wide, endless expanses of dust. No trees, no forest, no humidity, no elevation save the occasional butte or mesa cascading up from the ground towards heaven. Heading west, continuing on Interstate 40, I drive through bushland, Wildorado, Adrian, Boise, Glen Rio, Tucumcari, Cuervo, Santa Rosa. The desert here is wide and absolute. I can remember years ago driving into Colorado from New Mexico and having the thought, oh, I'll turn right and head north down one of these smaller roads. Referenced my atlas, took the turn, drove into the heart of the West. I was struck then by how sparse the landscape is in terms of populace. Even property I drove by. Every property I drove by, maybe one an hour, being as dilapidated and weather-worn as time and man allow. No services anywhere. I only stopped once, in an old silver mining town long abandoned. Went bust decades earlier, centuries even. Now phantoms haunt the dusty trails alone. And though I made it, I think this time I'll stick to the main roads. Klein's Corner, Wagon Wheel, Edgewood, Cedar Crest, Tierres, Carnuel before Kirkland Air Force Base, leading into Albuquerque, where I turn north on U.S. Highway 550 and stop for gas 15 miles out of town, just outside of Zia Pueblo at a speedway, the only gas station there. The sun is low. Golden hour will be here soon. I'll go as long as I can. Continuing north on 550, I start driving up after San Ysidro, and the next town, Cuba, is atop a high plain against the Santa Fe National Forest. After the sun fled completely, I pulled off onto a nice wide area of shoulder and turned the truck off. Of course, I thought of Breaking Bad. Now it seems like it can be a dangerous place people disappear in. Wild, vast terrain. A sign for a recreation area is just ahead of where I'm parked off the way. Every approaching vehicle screeches the Doppler effect, and I am humbled in a big way, seeing the mystery of the stars. Though here my view is obstructed by traffic light pollution and the woods on either side of the road, like Alabama. All I have is the peak hours, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., the central 60 degrees of arc, and it is more than enough to revel in mystery and acknowledge my ignorance. I awoke at dawn and continued north. Counselor, Liebrook, Nagizi, before skating along the eastern half of Farmington, through Bloomington and Aztec, Center Point, Cedar Hill. The terrain is green and mountainous as I cross into Colorado. The first real town is Durango, though I do stop, despite it being my first time through here. Though I do not stop, despite it being my first time through here. I want to find where I can camp. Continuing north, I pass through Trimble and Hermosa, entering into the San Juan National Forest, shows Purgatory Ski Resort on the western side of the road, though now the hill is bare. Being between summer and winter, the mountain bikes will be out soon enough. Rising elevation, I pass Engineer Mountain and Coal Creek Trailhead, Lime Creek overlooking Trailhead, and Molas Lake Park and Campground where I turn off. Driving through the park, I see there are no spots available, and dip down in elevation, continuing north on 550 into the Silverton Valley. Towering peaks surround this little mountain Eden. Cutting in front of the town to stay on the highway, just past the edge of town, less than 1 mile, a dirt road. I drive down it because it has a brown metal tent sign. The road is swallowed by trees and degrades, as with Big Bend, into a crude approximation of a road. However, nowhere near the state of depravity that particular back road yields. A 1/4 mile down the road, which is less than a half mile in total, I turn off into a beautiful tent site against Mineral Creek on the north side. As soon as I turn off the truck, I get out immediately, feel at peace, at calm, at 1 mint. And I know this is the place. Perfectly hidden right next to town, right against the water. Crystal cool, running water, clear. It won't get any better. I find myself thinking about writing more and more. I've purchased a computer, MSI. I guess now it is time for me to begin. I walked into town, leaving my vehicle at the spot, and have brought my computer to one of these quaint mountain motels, Triangle Motel. I decided to get a room for 2 nights, take a shower, sleep on a bed, and attempt to write out this screenplay. In the lobby, a crude general store selling everything from chips and snacks to fishing bait and guided tours crams the small room with enough eye-grabbing paraphernalia to force almost anyone to impulse buy something. The guy, black hair, looks blankly at me. "Can I help you? Can I get a room tonight and tomorrow night? Are you here with that movie?" I appear confused, I'm sure. No, I don't think so. "Oh, they're shooting a western somewhere nearby and a bunch of them are staying here. That's why I ask." $85 a night. After tax, both nights is $182.50. Let's do it. I pay the money. I put the card on file for incidentals. He hands me the key. Room 16 on the first floor, straight across from here when you exit. You can park in front of your room. I take the key and nod in recognition. Thanks. I took a shower and do my best to relax. As the sun disappears completely, I am struck by how cold it is still at night. Despite being the middle of May, and though I know what I want to write, I know the scenes, I'll begin tomorrow. I woke up, got out of bed, dragged a comb across my head. Just kidding, I never brush my hair, but I have my cup of coffee and force myself to stare at the dreaded blank document. But almost not at all, because I start writing immediately, and over the course of the day cranked out 65 pages, stopping whenever I want. It poured out of me. It needed to come out. I also have been considering writing a novel about a construction worker. Writers write what they know. The day drifted through its obligation, with me valuing it little to not at all, being wrapped and transported in secret studies. But it is a good day's work. The script is in no way finished. Certainly it isn't long enough, but beginning, middle, end, it's all there. I have some 3 hours of daylight left, and have hiked up Kendall Mountain. It is an arduous hike, which commands your full attention, as steep as any mountain might endeavor to offer. But now, the panorama, the stillness, a lone blackbird hovering flawlessly upon the zephyr. Miles away, below, toy cars whip along mountain passes, as if I could smash them like ants in my fingertips. Seems like you could, with a hang glider, coast for hundreds of miles down the mountain range. God's eye. Kether. With nothing obstructing the travail of your thoughts, it seems, at least here, you can ripple out your intention to the edges of eternity and beyond. The mind is the true mountain vista, and when unobstructed, it can touch and conjure anything anywhere. Eventually, as the dihedral pitch of the sun transitions towards dark, I come out of my reverie, my trance, and head back down the mountain. My tent is an ultralight, 1-minute setup. It has a vesica shape, the mouth of Ra, an almond enclosing 2 half-area circles tangential. It is a beige-brownish color. The 2 poles run outside along the top, intersecting as with the optic nerves across the brain. I set it up between the fire pit and the creek. A thin veil of trees divides the water's edge, which is a soft sandy soil, dark brown, from the tent. The tent opens to the fire pit, which most nights I keep open for the heat of the fire. You learn a lot in practical terms building a fire, and learning to derive warmth from it. A single fire, unless cast as a wide circle which someone can sit inside of, can never warm a whole body. Only the side facing the flame. 2 fires are required to heat the entire body, or a dance of oscillation, which spiritually I guess is better. Heat and cold, opposition, light and dark. Though in the dream house, whose pillars are massive tetrahelix complexes, and the grass grows underfoot, I have a big badass fire ring I can sit in, cast my spells through and into the endless vista. Imagination. Insight. Watching a moth devour itself. Pure immolation. I have a flash of guilt. A memory of Johnny Appleseed. Perhaps apocryphal, putting out his fire in the rain, knowing he had killed one of God's creatures in this way. It is just after 7 a.m., and I am walking the 20 minutes from my site to the coffee shop in the middle of town. Coffee Bear. I used to think the town I grew up in was small until I went west. This fucking place is actually small. Population 3,000 maybe, and most of them are seasonal. Some come to ski, others come to hike. The mountain, the lust for nature, experience, brings a certain psychological disposition to its summits. One true road with some 10 cross streets running perpendicular. To the east and west, parallel side streets on either side of the main road. On the north edge of a town, a 4x4 road closed in the winter, running along the Animus River. And while there is a small lift for skiing, I believe most of the skiing done here is drop-ins out of helicopters. Real hardcore shit. No skiing in the sticks. But if I had friends who did it and I had the means, it's probably super fun, I have no doubt. The town caters in the summer to the Wild West mining kitsch, with saloons selling overpriced drinks, and almost all the food is deep fried. The kind of place huge wood cutouts of cowboys on horses and damsels riding side saddle have the heads cut out, and you and your significant other jut your heads through and have your picture taken for $10. I've been coming here every morning for several weeks now. Perhaps they are annoyed with my frequency. However, I don't bother anyone. I sit here and write all day. Sometimes only 4 or 5 hours, but at least that long. A subtle bell rings my entrance. 2 people are in line or in front of me. I stand silent in the line, perusing the room. A young family, mother, father, 2 young children, girl and boy, sit in the recessed section underneath the second story. It is a tall, narrow building whose steps lead up directly in front of the entrance. I approach the counter. Pretty mountain girl working. Dumb as a fucking hammer, I have no doubt. She smiles in recognition. Large Americano, 4 shots. That's all. Large Americano, 4 shots. She nods. That's all? For now. Yeah. 4.15. I hand her a 5 and place a single in the tip jar. She hands me 85 cents. Thanks for that. She motions to the tip jar and I nod. I see you here a lot. Are you studying for school? No, I'm a writer. Intrigue. Oh, cool. Anything I've heard of? Honesty. Well, I am writing every day and doing good work. I see. She all but rolls her eyes at me. Thanks. I take my drink up the stairs and adopt the posture once more. It is a long table with tall chairs, not particularly conducive to work. However, I often see finance-type jerks on conference calls. My money dwindles, though spending as little as possible. I am chipping away. I have to figure something out. I don't like the idea of being beholden to a master, punching a fucking clock, wasting my life for money I don't respect, to buy things I rarely need, to impress people I often don't really like. But I need money in the world. I am weary of suffering. But I know there must be some way I can operate in the world without working on my knees for breadcrumbs. That someone else feeds me like the fucking crazy pigeon lady in Central Park or that other guy in Washington Square Park. Without working on my knees for breadcrumbs that someone else feeds me. Like that fucking crazy pigeon lady in Central Park or that other guy in Washington Square Park. I have joined a makerspace in Durango. The facility is quite nice and affordable, with key fob 24-hour access. I only use the metal shop, but they do everything. Python, Raspberry Pi stuff, CNC laser cutter. They do have a plasma CNC, but it is not operational yet. The building is right in the heart of town, right next to the Platte River. I am trying to build porch planters, polyhedral planters, welded steel polyhedra that hangs the planter box below or inside of the polyhedra. I won't lay any claim to being an expert welder. I'm a guitarist and a writer, it would seem, but I see the vision. I see the profitability, and maybe in this way I don't have to make other men wealthy, doing tasks I loathe until my body is old and broken from decades of labor. Or rather, at least this way, I break my body doing something I appreciate and value that makes me all the money. I admit an ignorance that pervades my process. I don't really know what I am doing, nor does it particularly interest me to reference anything. I understand the tools, I understand the geometry, a journey of discovery, an attempt to learn how to write, an attempt to have a business of my own. I know what I want. I love to read challenging, well-written literature that's perhaps a little too difficult. I love meditating on geometry and casting the forms into the psychic crucible of the mind, and to see them rotate, collapse, breathe, and transmute in the void of eternity. Is there some synthesis that brings them both together? Today, for example, as most days, I rode at Coffee Bear for 5 hours from 7 to noon. Then I drove here to the makerspace in Durango where I have been building a template. Technology bewilders me. I know the supposed learned people I show the supposed learned people what I want to do, and because it involves no computers, they all go cross-eyed. I cast my pentagon upon the page and isolate the rhombus through the connection of the two diagonals, and say, this is what I want. That's all. Easy. Eventually, I get my vector illustration and cut out a 4x8 piece of plywood into 22 rhombic faces with an edge length of 10 inches. As I finish cutting them up, another member of the guy who gave me the tour, nice, if forgettable, offers up his intrigue. So what do you do now? I point to the plastic bag to my left. In the bag are small hinges, and I connect them like so. I hold two of the faces at the appropriate dihedral to the inside so that the metal rests in the voids of the edges. He nods, excited. Oh, I see. Very cool. And you want them that big? You have to put plants in it. Doesn't work well if you can only put one flower, does it? We chuckle. Yeah, true. Nice. Good luck. I need it, I'm sure. Thanks. See you later. Passing through the narrow corridor of the main entry leads me past the sewing room, which I have ideas for. But for now, they'll stay on the shelf. To the last room on the right, which is the metal shop. A large table dominating the room is to the left as you enter. Along the wall, a massive corkboard with various routers and cutting instruments, demo saws, face shields, welding hoods, hammers of various sizes, a table saw, and dozens of clamps. A giant jig table on wheels, another smaller steel table. Behind the table, against a wall, a Miller welder plasma combo and a Hobart welder with a tank of argon connected to it. Against the wall nearest the garage door, which should be open any time work is done, is a massive routing drill for cutting out solid models. I want to build 2 rhombic forms, duals of the vector equilibrium, and a fully truncated icosahedron dodecahedron. The rhombic dodecahedron in the former, the triacantahedron in the latter. The dodecahedron has 3 faces on top, 3 on bottom, aligned opposite the top, and 6 in the middle. Connecting the diagonals gives 4 perpendiculars, which when used as triangular bases of irregular tetrahedra, whose top is the volumetric center, yields 48 E-modules. Connecting the diagonals of the triacantahedron offers 4 perpendiculars at the center of each rhombic face, which when used as the base of an asymmetric tetrahedra that collapses to the volumetric center of the sphere enclosing it, yields 120 T-modules. They are the largest all-space-filling polyhedra. Infinite nesting, no gaps. There are 4 vertexial patterns in total, 2 sets for each form. On the dodecahedron, 3 faces share a vertex, and 4 faces share a vertex. On the triacantahedron, 3 faces share a vertex, and 5 faces share a vertex. Triangles and squares, and triangles and pentagons. The idea with the hinges is that the faces will set easier, but now as I work on them, I see that is only true on one level. I can make any of these vertexial arrangements 3 around 1, 4 around 1, 5 around 1. However, it is all but impossible to actually put either of them together in full this way. The synergy collapses while attempting to bind the opposing vertex patterns, and by the time I get 5 around 1, as the 5 that go around it are perpendicular in orientation, it is impossible to connect them any further. Frustration. Hours of contemplation and labor, material, money. Fuck! I have to step away. That's enough for today. I see now that the template does not really work for what I am trying to do. With regards to the dodecahedron, I can sit 3 of the edges inside of the gaps where the hinges connect the faces. But as soon as I start to weld it, it just sets the wood on fire. So now I have my square stock, which I cut first to length, and then each end is cut to the desired angle the 2 edges will meet at, the acute angle being 63 degrees and the obtuse being 116. And though there are fractional amounts after, I split the difference and cut each one at 31.5 and 58 degrees respectively. So I mark the end with a bright Sharpie, clamp it as tight as possible to a bench vise clamped to the side of the work table, and with a 1/4-inch thick cutting wheel shave my intention into creation. They look good when I put the pieces together. However, as soon as I start wielding it, the edges warp and bend out due to the great heat, and I am struggling with this regard. Last night a turbulent storm dumped rain and lightning all night in the valley. I slept in the truck. The sound of the rain reminded me of Alabama. I slept poor. I awoke with the rising sun, the damp humidity cooking off at a steady rate in tandem with Apollo's ascent. Malkuth. Dominion. Stepping out onto the endless earth, I perused the landscape as I walked to Coffee Bear. A true cornucopia of mycology. Paul Stamets' Bacchanalia. Every direction I turn revealing new species. My interest is piqued. Walking around my campsite, I found some 10 pounds of Amanita muscaria, said to induce bad trips if taken in large quantities. Perhaps the most diverse mycology in the world. It must be true. I'll stop there. So, right, those are good pages. I know I'm reading too fast. That's perhaps my criticism, right? And so we're still pages and pages away from Alistair Hoffman's introduction, right? But what do these pages have to do with the movie critic? What does this have to do with my relationship with Quentin Tarantino, right? Okay, so I espouse in those pages that I was just reading, right, that I like meditating on geometry, right, and conjuring the form in the psychic crucible, right, that this is what I enjoy doing, that and writing, right, so, right, Despite the fact that I suspect Quentin does not understand the drafting compass in the way that I do. He does not know geometry in the way that I do. That he does the same things, right? He does the same things. It's the same umbrella. It's the same parasol that he and I are existing under, right? And so, to the extent of his prowess, I cannot say, right? Because he doesn't want to let me. He doesn't want to forgive me. He doesn't want to let me in, right? And so again, I mentioned it yesterday, it's getting to this point where it's so exacerbated and so dangerous, and I have no choice but to assume, right, that he is attacking my mind and seeking my destruction, right? That this is what I have to assume, right? And so, right, I have to, right? I'm sure, he'd never assassinate me. I'd never do that. I can't do that. Right? Right? But if I turn up, right, all the way, right, the tactics that he's done to me, right, number one, right, he won't be able to do it. He's not smart enough, like, to put these things together, right? Right? And number two, right, if I turn it on, right, and use it, the body count will begin to rise. Yes, that's what I'm saying. He's just unwell. Just an unwell guy, right? So, constructed this today, right? A subdivision of 11, right? Done very specifically, but I'll let that secret be mine for now, right? And so, right? 11-point subdivision of the circle, right? Just as like Ezekiel's wheel, right? And so with this one, right, we skip 3, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, boom, line. You see the line? Then you skip 3. 1, 2, 3, boom, line. Right? And so, right? Right? And so that's the, if you skip 1, that's the second dimension. Skip 2, that's the third dimension. Skip 3. So that's the fourth dimension, right? This is the fourth dimension iteration of the 11 subdivision circle. And if we turn it around, this is the fifth dimension. This is if you skip 4, right? So it's, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, line, right? You see? 1, 2, 3, 4, line, all the way up. Right? And so these are the same things. These are 2, right? Right? And I could put this, right, on top of that. Can I? Right? And so, if we take this, right, you see this, right? Is 1/8 of that. Right? So, we see this. Right? See those line structures? Right? How sharp they are? Right? If I take 7 more of those, right, and divide the circle into 88, and do the same thing, right? That's what you get. Right? Right? So, right? The game is, right, that I find you and I torture you with my mind. Right? This is the game. That's the game that he's playing with me. My mind's stronger than yours. I'll compel you to blow your brains out. And now that he's failed with that, right, he's perhaps giving me AIDS. Right? Right? With disgusting base tactics. Right? And there is no other way that I could have it. There's no other way. Right? So, we're talking about it in the light of day. Right? I'm under attack. Quentin Tarantino is a dangerous clairvoyant. Right? He's been trying to compel me to blow my brains out for a year. Right? Tribeca is my fault. Right? I didn't bend the knee. Right? But now, right, It's time to reconcile, right? It's time to come together. It's time for you. It's time for both of us to admit our mistakes, eye to eye. Right? Right? No more bullshit. Right? No more evil. Right? So, please share, comment, like, subscribe. Right? This is my life. Right? I'm the reason Quentin Tarantino canceled the movie Critic. Right? I started reviewing movies in protest. Right? He set me up at Tribeca. You ain't got to believe me. You ain't got to believe me. Ask Robert De Niro. Ask Paul Schrader. Ask Martin Scorsese. Ask David Berlinski. Ask the director of Tribeca, whatever that bitch's name is. Right? Ask his wife Daniela. Right? Ask Roger Avery. Right? Ask Elvis Mitchell. Right? All those people know who I am. Right? So, talking about it every day. Right? Take a moment, give glory to God, relish the mystery of life, appreciate what's good in your life. Right? Uplift your soul to God.